Hey everyone, I'm Joe. Today it's time for me to do a rather unusual video in which I will not be waving any books around in my hand for a change, and instead I will be talking about Booktube related people, because this is time for the 2022 Chicago WorldCon Booktube recommendations. So, as of the moment that this video goes live on the Sunday evening, my time, I should be still sitting on a plane fairly close to landing in Chicago, America, in preparation for the 2022 Chicago WorldCon, of which I have been to two previous WorldCons in 2018 and 2019, which were held in San Jose and Dublin, Ireland respectively, of which I greatly enjoyed. This is the third one, and one that I'm really looking forward to. And the reason I'm looking forward to it is not really the books anymore. I mean, frankly, the books are secondary. The nice book, whatever. I mean, you know, I can read books here. I can look into bookish things here as well at home. The thing that I like about the WorldCon is obviously the people. The particular a little WorldCon group that by this point I've met up with them obviously 2 times previously. I know them really well, and we've hung out and just really enjoyed each other's company and just talking and going to panels, going to little restaurants, having nice meals, going to buy books together or all the places, and it's just been really nice. And there will be a WorldCon related video. I'm going to try to film and take a lot more photos during this WorldCon than previous ones, because I realised frankly I barely took photos on the previous ones, so I'm going to try and reverse that a bit. This video will be basically, I'm going to be recommending all of the people that I'm going to be spending this following week with, and basically saying a series of essentially compliments to vets. Essentially, I'm going to be having during this video. I'm just going to be excessively complimentary about everybody and say why I think they're great, pretty much. And I'm going to be recommending them in the order that I first got to know each person. So the first person that I got to know is, and this won't be a surprise to many people because I've mentioned her on my channel rather a lot of times before, and that's an understatement, is Rachel. Now, I've known Rachel for more than 7.5 years at this point. I got to know her at the very end of 2014, less than a year after I started Booktube, so I've known Rachel near enough at this point, essentially the whole time I've been on Booktube, close enough to that. And Rachel is one person I feel as though I know really, really well, and I genuinely like spending time with. Now, Rachel is obviously extremely intelligent. She's very eloquent. She's able to articulate her words and get across the point of book reviews, for instance, and such, in a very short time. In things that I would spend 5 minutes doing and speaking about, she can probably say in a minute and a half flat. And one of the things that she also can speak about and comes across well in her video is her humour. Now, Rachel claims that she had surgery many years ago to remove her sense of humour. All I'm saying is I hope those surgeons are not still practicing medicine, because they should have actually been disbarred from the medical association, or whatever the association is in America, because they did a terrible job at it. Rachel's definitely got a sense of humour, and it comes across really well in videos, and her videos always makes me smile, and indeed I do laugh at Rachel's videos, because one of the things that comes across as well is her sense of enthusiasm and her passion for both reading and books, but also in more recent years for her other hobbies as well, which she now talks about fairly frequently in videos, specifically her craft related videos, where she talks about obviously the things that she's knitted, sewed and such, you know, like normally extremely nice, really nice jumpers and such, or sweaters and that sort of thing. And also her gardening. She has a very big passion for gardening and growing fruits and vegetables. Although she's gotten a bit of a gap year from that, you know, due to redecorating her garden. And with Rachel, it's that passion for basically whatever she's interested in. If she's interested in it, she doesn't do it in half measures. She does it in full. So like, she's very much, I have an interest, I will do it heavily, I will look into it, I'll research it, and that love of whatever the hobby happens to be or interest happens to be comes across really well. And it's just joy to watch Rachel's videos and see how much she's enjoying the subject that she's talking about. And indeed, that's the same as in person. She's always enthusiastic about what she's doing in person as well. I've been in bookshops with her, I've been in yarn or wool shops with her, where she's been enthusiastically buying balls of wool yarn, and it's just fun to just be around Rachel and see her enthusiasm for everything around her. And she's my favourite human. I mean, I've said this before, it sounds sarcastic. It's sort of half is. It sort of started off as a silly thing I said, but it always happened to be true. She's one of my favourite booktubers and indeed one of my favourite people, period. And I just like spending time with Rachel as a person. She's a genuinely nice person, and I frankly like spending time with company. It's that simple. The second person I'm going to speak about is Paul. I've known Paul not quite as long as Rachel. I did get to know him originally in 2015 as well, somewhat later in that year. So at this point I've known him 6.5, maybe to 7 years, somewhere between that marker. And I will be this week when I'm on the WorldCon sharing a hotel room with Paul again. I mean, the previous two WorldCons I also shared a hotel room with Paul. Obviously it's very convenient, and it's nice to share a room with somebody, and it feels more comfortable sharing a room with somebody when you're in somewhere that you don't know, an unfamiliar location, in an unfamiliar country, so it's ideal. And one of the reasons why I've liked sharing a room with Paul in particular is he's a very easy to get to know person and easy to get along with, and he's an easygoing person in general. Paul has this very relaxed attitude. He'll come to the WorldCon and he'll see what happens and he'll sort of go with the flow. That sort of person. I'm not, as you might have frankly gathered by this point. I'm slightly more, sort of more highly strung, frankly. I tend to want to plan out what I'm doing ideally a month before and try and research things. You can't always do that when you're in another country. So I think that works well with Paul because, sometimes I think my excessive planning can probably benefit Paul in some ways, but his relaxed attitude certainly helps me for certain, because it calms me down a little bit and makes my thought processes a bit more even, so I can think, right, I know Paul there, that, and if I don't know something, he can help, so I can then focus on what I personally do, which is I like planning things. I mean, that's the sort of person I am, so I can try and sort of organise myself and think, right, what could we do today, and what panels, that sort of thing. And he's a genuinely good person as well. Paul is, as an individual, he tries to help people when he can, and tries to not just help them with obviously book recommendations, which he does rather well, but help them as a person and at a very personal level. He's a genuinely good person, and he does think of that as well. He tries, and he always wants to be an actively good person in life. So I think he's admirable. I don't actively try in that way. I just do what I do, and if it seems to work out. Paul actively goes out of his way to try and be a decent person, and frankly it does show, because he gets on with people easily. I mean, I get on with him, and I know the rest of our little Booktube group get on with Paul really well, because he's an easygoing person, relaxed, and just a good person to be around, and a customer's a good friend as well. The next person that I'm going to talk about is Andrea. Now, Andrea, I might have known her maybe slightly longer than Paul, but I'm not entirely sure, so I'm going to list her here. I've known her sometime maybe in 2015, it could have been 2016, but I think it might have been 2015, so roughly 6.5 years. It's a bit uncertain, because I first knew Andrea as a viewer and indeed as somebody who commented on my videos, and she commented specifically on my videos and Rachel's in the early days. I do remember, because she would, for instance, I would comment on Rachel's video, and then Andrea would comment on my reply to Rachel, and then Rachel might then reply to Andrea's comment. So we sort of reply to each other in the comments to my videos and Rachel's videos. and it was quite fun. And frankly, you know, I do remember in the early days Andrea saying that she would like to try Booktube, and both myself and Rachel were saying, well, you know, you can always try it, and if it doesn't work out, then just delete the videos and forget it. You know, you can't have anything too negative happen from trying. And here she is making videos, of which are very good and interesting. Andrea is a qualified librarian, so, you know, very, very appropriate for Booktube indeed. She's highly knowledgeable about, obviously, books, but also about, obviously, library systems and related things to that. So she talks about books in a very different way than I do, because I have no, you know, I have no literature, university degrees or anything like that. I'm just talking about books as a bookworm and as a reader. That's it. I don't know, you know, I have no formal experience in any other location of book reviews or speaking about literature. So obviously Andrea, as a librarian, should learn very much all sorts of things about books and about the history, that sort of thing, and how books are made, that sort of thing she knows about. So she speaks about it with a different air than I do, and I always like her videos because it's so different from mine, which works personally well, because obviously, you know, I make videos where it's just me talking enthusiastic about videos and trying to make some kind of intelligent comments about them. With Andrea, she doesn't have to try to make intelligent comments about it. It just comes naturally to her. I mean, she's an intelligent person. Her enthusiasm for books and obviously library systems, blindly, is really obvious to see. And she's a fun person to see in person as well. I've met her not in America in the first WorldCon, but in Dublin. I spent a week, you know, hanging out with her, and she's a truly nice and genuine person, easygoing, and also, and I'm not being sarcastic when I say this, but she's actually slightly smaller than I expected. She's, I mean, like in height. I thought Andrea, for some reason, I always got the impression that she's going to be slightly taller than she was. You know, it's one of them things. She's surprisingly small. No offence to them, and obviously I'm being somewhat sarcastic with that, although truthful. And Andrea, I would really recommend her channel as well. So the next person that I'm going to talk about is Kelsey. I've known her since, I think, roughly the end of 2016, the start of 2017, I guess. I'm not entirely sure. It's roughly about 6 years I've known Kelsey. And I'm happy that I've known her 6 years because she is a genuinely nice person. Obviously now, Kelsey is known because of her channel name, you know, the Fancy Art Lady Reads, for her hats and her love of millinery, which is, you know, the world of hats. And actually that could be a good side channel about Kelsey if you want, Kelsey's World of Hats. Anyway, enough for me being sarcastic, I'll talk about Kelsey. She's a genuinely nice person, Kelsey. I like her for many reasons. One of the things that always impresses me about Kelsey is she's the closest person to me with optimism and positivity. Now, I've always said on this channel that I class myself as an eternal optimist. I always think the best of situations and people, and it's not like I have to try it that. That's just literally inbuilt in me. That's just the way I am. Kelsey's the only person I've met who's actually near enough the same as me, actually. She always thinks positively about people, well, it seems to, and about situations. And she obviously, she acknowledges that obviously, you know, negative things can happen, you know, unpleasant things can happen, but she tries to stay above it and try to, you know, improve herself and improve others and be positive and optimistic about what's going on. And she's a genuinely nice person to be around because she seems to sort of lighten the room up that she's in. I mean, I feel very comfortable around Kelsey as a person because she's just an easygoing person. She's quite confident with travel and things as well, which, you know, is the opposite of me. She actually gives me a bit of confidence as well because she's lives in New York, so she's very perfectly confident with travelling around big cities and that sort of thing. Although I'm from a city, I'm not that confident, so I think that gives me a certain amount of confidence though, seeing Kelsey walking around at the WorldCon, for instance, doing these things, and it's like, yeah, Kelsey's able to do it. I'll try and sort of keep up with her pace, and it will hopefully improve me as a person as well, because obviously I always want to improve myself, same as everybody wants to improve themselves. And Kelsey is also a very nice person, a very genuine, nice person. You know, she's very much herself. She's totally non-judgmental. She just accepts people for who and what they are. And as a result, she's just extremely easy to be around. You know, you don't feel awkward around Kelsey. Kelsey's just there, and you can just talk to her, or just be in a company without speaking. I mean, I think if you can sort of hang out with somebody for a while and without speaking and without it being awkward, I think that's quite impressive, and frankly, it's quite a sign that you obviously must get on really rather well indeed. Because, you know, silence can be awkward sometimes. If you can be silent around somebody and you be perfectly okay, that's quite an achievement. And I would recommend Kelsey's channel because she's a truly nice person who I like as a person. The next person that I'm going to talk about is Raya. I've known Raya since the end of 2017, start of 2018. I think it was not probably 6 months to a year before the first WorldCon in San Jose. So it should at this point be about 4.5 years I've known Raya. And with Raya, I feel as though, even though I've only known her 4.5 years, I feel as though she's an old friend that I've known since I was in my teens or something, because I just feel relaxed around Raya, and I also feel like I can talk to Raya very easily. I mean, at the Dublin WorldCon, I think the two of us were actually amusing some of the others, because we were just walking along the road, chatting away to each other, like a couple of idiots, frankly, about computer games and movies, and, you know, we probably looked as though we'd known each other for like a decade plus, and we hadn't. I mean, that was the first time we met, and yet we got on really well. We talked extremely easily, and that obviously will continue. And I think we just, obviously our personalities seem to work together well with, you know, being friends basically. You know, we get each other's personalities, and we seem to go on really well, which I appreciate. Raya talks about videos in a really interesting way. You know, she reads more graphic novels than I do as well, and talks about them, which I always find interesting, because graphic novels, you know, for reasons that I've mentioned before about, you know, they are rather expensive and library systems are basically non-existent for me, are not really an option. So having somebody that I know read graphic novels and get their sense of enthusiasm across is really fun, and I really do appreciate that. Raya is also genuinely good as a person, obviously. I mean, I wouldn't be getting on with her and thinking of her as a really old friend, despite the fact she's a relatively new friend, as easily if she wasn't a nice person. One thing with Raya is her sense of humour. She's got this certain sense of humour where sometimes, and this is in person, she'll say something and not realise it's funny or meaning something else, and then the rest of us will start laughing about it, and she'll be like, and then she'll just look and be like, oh, and then she'll get kind of slightly embarrassed and then laugh herself, because she's realised what she said was actually rather different, could be taken a rather different way, let's say. And she's a really funny person, maybe, actually. Her humour does come across in her videos, but she's far more humorous in person. I mean, in the videos, her intelligence comes across. The humour does come across, just not as heavily, and it's nice to see that in person, because she's a genuinely nice person and a funny person. The next person that I'm going to talk about is Thomas. Thomas I've known since 2018. I knew about him before then, but for whatever reason, you know, I didn't really subscribe to his channel, for instance, until probably relatively close to the WorldCon. You know, sometimes you have people that you think you might want to subscribe to their channel and you don't get around to it for whatever reason. Thomas just happens to be one of them. And I'm very glad that I subscribed to Thomas's channel when I did, because he's a really interesting person and a good person to be around. Thomas is like Pauline in one way, is that he's got a very sort of relaxed attitude to things, and with Thomas, the one word I would use to describe amongst many is Thomas is a very capable person. I mean that comes across really obviously. He's travelled before. He's done quite a few things over the years. Unlike me, I mean, travel is relatively new to me until the WorldCon. So I don't really know I'm doing very well. Thomas does know what he's doing with travel and such. So that ability to be very, very capable and relaxed and stuff like this is what he's gonna do. He's not pulling away. He's a good person to be around. He relaxes you, and it definitely relaxes me if you're not that way inclined, which I'm not. I'm, more organised, and you can't always be organised about things like travel. So he just takes it as it comes. He's able to handle it, and he's a good person to be around. He's also a good person, and a good person to have a conversation with. I had a really interesting conversation with him about politics, strangely enough, actually totally not related to books, in Dublin for a good hour or two, where basically I was talking about UK politics and explaining things to him. He was talking about American politics and explaining things to me. And that was actually one of the most interesting conversations I had for quite a while at the time, and it was actually very useful. I mean, that part of that conversation I can still remember, and it does help me now with, when I say anything to do with America and anything to do with the American political system, I actually know what's going on rather a lot more now because of Thomas, because that conversation was extremely useful and beneficial. So he's a good person to talk to, Thomas is. He's a confident person with what he speaks about. He's knowledgeable, and if he doesn't know something, he's very open-minded as well. If he doesn't know something, he'll say, I have no idea what that is, but I'll look into it and try to at least not come across as an idiot. I mean, that's frankly what a lot of people want. Even if you don't know the subject, if you can at least know enough not to be arrogant about it and say that you don't. Thomas doesn't claim to know things that he doesn't know. He'll say, if he doesn't know something, he'll say it. And if he's not interested in learning about it, he'll say that as well. So he's a very honest person and down to earth, and he's a good person, actually, overall. And the last person that I'm going to talk about in this video is Diane, who I've only known since 2020, and that is due to the fact that she's part of the monthly live show that Rachel and a few of the others do, the Stitch and Bitch live show, where they talk about their craft things, obviously, as well as books and other sort of science fiction and sort of nerdy type sort of pursuits, I suppose you could say. Now, I haven't met Diane, and I don't know her that well, so this will be a relatively short section. But Diane always comes across as a nice person from the live shows. I mean, I've watched every live show, so I feel as though I do know her to a certain degree at this point, just due to the fact I keep watching the live shows. She always comes across as somebody who is, and I'm not meaning insult when I say this, I mean, Diane will probably laugh, she comes across as quite a nerdy person. I mean, frankly, I'm a nerdy person, so our whole WorldCon group is a fairly nerdy person, so that's not really surprising. She is very big on Star Wars. I mean, frankly, she's known for being a big fan of Star Wars and everything related to it, but also other science fiction related shows and media as well. And for instance, she's also known for certain science fiction games like Mass Effect, for instance. I know she's a big fan of that. And she's also a big fan of her cats, which she has 2 of. And she likes certain sports. I believe it is the women's football, I believe, unless I'm mistaken. And I believe there might be basketball as well involved. I'm not a sports person in the slightest. I mean, she'll know far more than I do. I'm totally nonce. Unless it's Formula 1 related, I don't really know anything else. And Diane is an easy person to talk to. I predict when I meet her in person during this following week, during the WorldCon, that she'll be an easy person to talk to in person and a fun person to talk to, because, obviously she's got lots of them sort of nerdy type pursuits that frankly the rest of us also have. So we're going to talk about computer games, books, movies and things, and I expect that I'll get on probably well with Diane. So and she seems like a genuinely nice person as well, easy to get on with, and just a comfortable person to be around, I expect. And with that said, that is actually it for all of the people that I'm going to be spending my week with. Therefore, all of the people that I'm going to be excessively complimenting in this video. I will link all of the people that I mentioned, which for the record I am just realising now that I actually mentioned them all by name, but I didn't actually mention the channel names. Those will be in the description box below, of course, along with links to my social media. Just keep in mind that I may not be replying to people particularly well for a week or two, because of course I'm going to be in America, then I've got to come back, and I may or may not, be rather tired from America, because it's 6 hours behind my time zone here. So the idea of jet lag didn't affect me before. It might affect me this time, I don't know. So we'll see what happens. And there will be, or at least hopefully will be, in about a month's time or so, a WorldCon sort of vlog type video. I'm not going to the length that Thomas is going to. Thomas actually brings a camera dedicated to that and really tries to film things a bit more professionally. I'm just going to be using my phone, and I'll try to take a lot more pictures, because my sister pointed out to me actually that during the previous 2 WorldCons I took pictures and photos of us, but very few of them actually had me in them. It'd be nice to actually see a photo of me in the location, which actually is true. So I'm going to try and actually get a few photos of me and a few photos of me with the other booktubers, as a group. And I'll try and actually record a few things and that sort of thing. So if I have enough, visual elements, then hopefully I'll be able to make a video out of it. But we'll see. It might just end up being on Twitter, I don't know yet, or on Instagram or whatever. A series of just sort of like a kind of wrap up there. We'll see in time anyway. And with that said, that is it. So all the links can be found in the description box below. Oh, and if you happen to be going to the Chicago WorldCon and you watch my channels and you want to say hello, then feel free to say hello, because I'm going to be there. I'm going to be awkward, as I always am, because that's just me. So you can say hello, we can be awkward together if that's your preference. Be sarcastic here. And so if I don't see you there, then I'll see you on my channel next week. There still will be videos for quite some time. And with that said, that is it for today. So thank you for watching. I'll see you another day. Bye for now.